You're not going to believe what these cards are being used for. Make sure you guys smash the ever-living crap out of that Dark World button so you guys don't miss out on more Oz content. Now, this is a fever dream to see that the OCG is picking up Brow and Carafa of all cards to counteract Mitsurugi. Now, Mitsurugi, or at least one of their beautiful comrades, has a very, very downside effect that you might not really think about, and it is our dear old friend Amino Murakumo, who says your opponent has to discard a card from their hand in order to basically apply said effect. Now, why does this matter? Well, we now have an actual piece in the meta that basically is forcing me to discard cards. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, alright, well, why don't we just play something like Rainbow then? Or, you know, some of these other pieces. Well, this is going to be basically a surprise factor. If you pull off something like Rainbow, your opponent's never going to apply the effect. You want it to be something that they're still going to take the gamble on, and just to see if they're willing to make the chance that you're going to have it. Because if you have the Brow, you get the draw power. If you have the Graphic, you know, you get the value off of clearing the field. So, I don't know. I never thought about seeing Dark World being a Mitsurugi counter, that it would shift in such a direction that suddenly Japan has to start playing things like this. So, I don't know, this opens up the door to maybe, just maybe, we will see some counterpoints depending on how the deck evolves in our meta. Great Shogun Great. The one that makes your opponent can only do one spell and trap card per turn? Yeah, so this has got to do with Regenesis. And what I found completely hilarious about this was we are starting to see Regenesis adapting what I'm going to consider are the interesting options. I've seen Vanity's Ruler coming up. I've seen Great Shogun Xian coming up. You might try to think that Archlord Christia might be a good option, but the problem with Christia is, unfortunately, you'd basically be locking yourself out of special summoning too, so you don't really get that option to work with that. So you got to play things like the Vanity's Ruler, and some of the other off-the-wall things. So this is pretty refreshing, actually, because you also get access to 7 Tachyon. Now, 7 Tachyon does allow you to kind of peer into some of the level 8 options that you could be working with. Now, remember, any of these big monsters that are going to require 2 tributes are going to mean that you are going to have Regenesis monsters be able to set up, but you also want their stat lines to be friendly with the deck. You know, you want to be able to go, oh, hey, you know, if I'm choosing to play this stat line, you know, it's got to kind of work with the Regenesis stuff to a certain degree, actually. But one of the most recent builds showed up was actually playing the 100 Dragon to basically try to clear up and do the OTK through the Numeron stuff. It's a pretty interesting pile now of just the different hodgepodge techniques that we can actually use to incorporate together. So it's actually kind of nice. Ah, boy. Performapal Five-Rainbow Magician. How many times do we get to see this card show up within the space of the game? Because it is one of the dumbest little things that we see. Now remember, you cannot pendulum summon except from the extra deck. This effect cannot be negated, and each player applies one of these effects based on the number of set cards that they have in their spell and trap card zone. So 0, all monsters they control cannot attack and cannot activate their effects. And if there are 4 or more, the attack of all monsters they control becomes double the original attack. And if either player sets spell trap card while this card is in the graveyard, you can place this card in the pendulum zone. It's really stupid, by the way, that this guy has a recurability clause built on him. Because you're like, oh, hey, you know, we can actually do this. Now, basically, this is made to punish your opponent for basically not committing any background. Now, the deck that this actually showed up in was actually Radiant Typhoon, and you're probably like, huh? Radiant Typhoon is now looking to play this card in the OCG. Radiant Typhoon has been doing some really crazy things in the OCG, man. They have come up with some of the most crackpot, off-of-the-wall theories, and it's crazy to me that these ideas actually are working. Like, we are actually seeing, you know, actual merit to these things in real time. So I got to give them a little bit of credit here. I thought that they were a little bit crazy, but honestly, it's just Performapal Five-Rainbow Magician, really? Like, that's the path we're going in the main deck and as a 3 of as well? Japan, you're pushing some crazy boundaries here. Now, that being said, we have the Stellar Wind Wolfrayet. Now, this card also saw play in Radiant Typhoon. And before you're like, Robbie, Radiant Typhoon doesn't synchro. You're making this shit up. No, man. I saw that they adapted a mini Speedroid package into the deck to be able to make this card. So it's a tuner plus a non-tuner. You only control one of these. Gains 300 attack for each time another monster effect is activated. And while the attack of this card is less than 4,000, once a turn when this card's attack is 4,000 or a quick effect, you can shuffle both this card and all monsters your opponent controls into the deck. Now, keep in mind here, it's each time a monster effect activates that you would be stacking up these the free power onto this thing. So that basically creates this scenario of this is a free board clear. Because it just shuffle both this card and all cards your opponent controls into the deck. This has zero downside to you whatsoever. You can be sitting here spinning around a Crocea on the field, and your opponent's just going, ugh. Come on, man, like, I have to deal with a free board shuffle interruption in addition to, you know, everything else that, you know, Radiant Typhoon's doing between the Forbidden Crowns, the Fallen and the Virtuouses, the Droplets, the Crocea Wall. The overall control that this deck just has going for it feels really, really nice. And I actually kind of appreciate that. Once again, everybody, Radiant Typhoon is actually just one of the coolest decks of 2026. You get to try out so many different ideas and possibilities with this stupid pile. It's actually kind of amazing to see. So let's give it up. I'm telling you, this deck has just been the craziest adaptation I've seen. And then there's Dragunity. So, Dragunity got their new support, and the deck has been going down a couple of different paths. I've seen more of the try to abuse the Harpies Feathered Storm route in Japan, which is probably the best route if you are in Japan to go with. But there was also a Dragon Roller pile that was kind of creeping around as well. I didn't quite hate that idea. And that's kind of what you look at when you see these decks that are like dragon piles and so forth. It's like, hey, you know, what good stuff can I take from this engine, incorporate it into this, and actually achieve, you know, good value? You know, what good synchro value actually comes out of merging this together? And that's kind of where I'm sitting right now with this idea. I like the concept of Dragunity just being another pile deck that you can kind of work with out here to be able to get some actual good value. So I wanted to plug this in because if you've been on the fence about getting Dragunity stuff and you're not really sure where to go, you might want to do some research into that. I don't know if they're going to reprint every single Dragunity card. It is definitely a possibility we are going to see Dragunity stuff getting some reprints. But my takeaway with this right now is this is a semi-interesting deck. And it seems like there is something to this. So only, I think, time will tell with this one. for sure. But what do you guys think about everything? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. And I'll see your beautiful faces back here in a day, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.